The morning news on News Talk 710 KURV. We're still in hurricane season. We invite you to visit KURV.com, your resource for tropical weather. Tropical coverage 2014 on KURV.com, a service of Lee's Pharmacy, Mike's Plumbing, Vega Roofing Valleywide, Elko Electro Cooling Services, and South Texas Buick GMC. Saw this report on the rundown some days back, and I figured this might be interesting to some people in the audience. Some onerous ATF rules threatening to put some gun dealers out of business and help to explain. Attorney with Texas Law Shield and gun law expert is Edwin Walker, Texas Ranger. Edwin, welcome back to the show. All right, Edwin, so what are we talking about? What are these ATF rules that we're facing?
Well, there was a recent story out of Virginia about a gun dealer who I had a particularly unpleasant visit from an ATF agent, which these field agents have to go out and inspect gun shops. And, of course, there are certain, safety issues. They have to check to make sure they didn't sell any guns to anybody who was unlawful, to make sure that all their gun transactions are recorded. That's not the real issue. The real issue is that the most important form that a gun dealer fills out is called a 4473. And a 4473 contains about 130 different pieces of information on it. And if one of those pieces of information is missing or has some sort of discrepancy in it, then the ATF can write that up as a violation. And, if any given ATF agent so decides, they can try to use these violations to try to pull somebody's gun license. So, and keep in mind, we're not dealing with somebody who's done something like sold a gun to somebody who's prohibited to have one. We're just simply talking about a paperwork error.
Well, for someone in your line of business, this should be the boon in business. The phone should be ringing out the hook from all these gun dealers wanting to hire attorneys to make sure that everything is filled out correctly A to Z, don't you think?
Well, it's, these gun shops, they do these transactions thousands and thousands every year. And so it really comes down to how well trained the gun dealer has trained his people. And the ATF can get very, very particular on these forms. For example, if somebody's address on their driver's license contains the actual written out word street instead of the abbreviation ST, they have to write down the word street. It has to exactly match what their state-issued ID says.
That's why they're called bureaucrats, pal. Joining us on 710 KURV, a Texas-based gun law expert is Edwin Walker.
And Mr. Walker, Tim Sullivan here. These new provisions, aren't they intended to cut down on what the ATF is very concerned about, these straw gun purchases, which we've seen down here, result in weapons being smuggled to Mexican drug cartels? Seems to me that these are fairly reasonable provisions. If that's the result, if it actually cuts down on weapons smuggling across the border.
Well, you have to look at what, like I said, there are technical errors, and then there would what some would view as egregious error, which is selling somebody a gun who does not have the right to have a gun. And this 4473 contains, I believe, 12 questions that people have to answer. And, of course, the first question that is asked is, are you the person who is buying this gun? Basically, you're not buying this gun for someone else. And obviously, if somebody answered no to that question, the question, are you purchasing this gun for yourself, then that is a disqualifier. And if the ATF found that one of those forms, the buyer had been approved after they answered no to that question, well, that would be an issue. But that's generally those are such huge things that they simply, as a practical matter, do not happen. We're talking about.
Well, I'm not so sure. We've spoken to some ATF folks down in our area, and they say that these forms have indeed helped them track down and trace where some of these so-called straw purchasers have been able to get the gun to a third party, and they're able to track the gun or keep it from being smuggled across the border.
Well, like I said, the form exists, and it's existed for over 20 years. However, the ATF does keep revising it, altering it, and I don't think that it's an issue of people not keeping their forms. That obviously is a violation, but some more of the little technical ticky-tack type of errors that the ATF are writing dealers up for.
Yeah,
so the solution would be then to be extremely careful in filling out those forms.
Well, it sounds like it's kind of onerous, but have any gun shop owners actually been shut down or fined as a result of these minor verbiage infractions?
Well, there have been several gun dealers who have had their license pulled, but I don't know the particulars of why why any particular gun dealer got their license pulled. But certainly these types of little minor technical bureaucratic violations, like I said, they can form a basis to pull a license just like a major violation would. Like this, finding out that a dealer is making is intentionally selling a firearm to a straw purchaser.
All right, Edwin, thanks for your time. Texas Law Shield attorney, gun law expert Edwin Walker, joining us on 710 KURV. News, a service of Lone Star National Bank, bringing the bank to you in the Rio Grande Valley in San Antonio. Lone Star National Bank is the Valley's bank.